there is a market for the utilities to continue to ramp up their term contracting. We currently have 4 contracts that we signed a while back, but we are having active discussions with utilities looking to the future. I do find that a number of the utilities are finding that some of the contracts that they've done with some of the newer producers or upstart producers are potentially struggling with some of those producers. And I think that bodes well for a company like Energy Fuels that is able to ramp up reliably and deliver into their long-term contracts.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Triangle Investor Interviews. I'm your host, Lucian Valkovic, and before I announce my guest, just a quick reminder of a disclaimer. This interview and all my interviews are not a recommendation to buy or sell any shares, products, or services. Always do your due diligence and consult with your financial advisor. My guest today is Mark Chalmers, CEO of Energy Fuels. Mark, thank you very much for joining me today. It is always great to have you in my show.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Mark. It has been a while since our last talk. Both uranium and rare earths are outperforming this year, and your uranium core rare earth accelerator strategy really looks perfect right now. Despite the critics you had, and you had them, like, let's say, in recent times, last year or the year before, there were some critics about it. So my first question, how does this dual exposure shield you from volatility? And what's the key to merging both into a U.S. critical minerals a leader?
Yeah. Well, look, I think a lot of the critics didn't understand what we're doing, didn't understand the advantages, and I think it's probably because fairly narrow-minded. I've been doing this coming up on 50 years next year, and it's a long period between drinks when some of these elements drop in value for extended periods of time. Having said that, the focus on nuclear, the focus on rare earths, particularly other critical elements, has never looked more exciting. So I believe that having this dual focus with multiple critical elements, certainly when you look at all the geopolitical tensions that we're having, including bipartisan support for pretty much all the above, we couldn't be in a better place ever. And that's been reflected in our share price. I believe we've outperformed all the significant uranium companies over the last year to 2 years, and we've performed very well with the rare earth companies as well. And what's interesting, it seems like one week it'll be rare earth week, and the other week it'll be uranium week.
Yeah, yeah.
And last week it was rare earth week. This week it's kind of uranium week. And by having that dual focus, that smooths out some of the bumps and the volatility over time. So no, look, it's been really rewarding. We've set up ourselves to have a global footprint with multiple projects, and we just keep pushing the pedal to accelerate faster on all fronts.
Excellent. The U.S. government, just like you said, is very supportive and pro-nuclear, as we can see. How are you taking advantage of that? Are you going to apply for Section 45X or Section 48C support, or have you considered the Department of Energy loan program, maybe a future funding? What's your
Look,
take?
we look at all different aspects of how we run our business. I always use the phrase that we drive our own bus, and we could consider those types of things if it makes sense. I mean, I'll give you, for example, but at the earlier part of the month, we did a very significant convertible note with Goldman Sachs, and we raised $700 million with a coupon of 0.75%. So we have the capacity to raise money on our own accord at very attractive terms. But we're also interested in helping out the U.S. government or Australian government or other non-China sources to come up with a really good result for everybody involved. So we do spend a lot of time in D.C. I'm not going to talk about that in detail because um, it can be annoying with the U.S. government when people start mouthing off about their meetings, and we don't do that. So um, we're going to do what makes sense, and that's the way we drive our bus. And we'll see how it all folds out. But right now, we've got substantial momentum.
Yeah, definitely. Given the US government growing focus on securing domestic supplies in both uranium and rare earths, what are the chances that the government could take an equity stake in your company, in some other uranium company, and provide direct funding? What's your take?
Yeah, look, I can't speak on behalf of the odds of the U.S. government, but we are the largest uranium producer in the United States and lowest cost uranium producer in the United States, and will continue to be so for years to come. There still are just a limited number of companies that are actually producing anything materially. It's been tough for everybody to get restarted, and a lot of people are short on their production. We are not. We're actually increasing or have increased our guidance. We did have a delay with the transport across the Navajo Nation, but we've resolved that. That's now going along quite well. But yeah, when it comes to what support we'll get or might get, I'm not going to speculate on that. But all I can say is we drive our own bus. We've built a company with substantial capacity and assets, and I think that stands out in the world of critical minerals. And how that goes forward, we'll just see. Keep you posted.
That's fair enough, Mark. Thank you. Can you give us an update on current operations, White Mesa, Pinyon Plain? Are you on track with the production for full year targets, or any Q4 adjustments are needed?
Yeah, we're still ramping up our production. Our guidance is we're sticking with our guidance at this point in time. The mines are going well, and we are sort of transitioning from about that 1 million pounds to 2 million pounds per year of production, and that is on target and on budget on how we transition. And so, all I can say is that we'll produce more uranium at lower costs than others. And but it's been more difficult to find miners for us. In a lot of aspects, it's been more difficult for people to find technical people. That hasn't really been a problem for us because we've got a large group of technical people already on staff. And but we are making great strides on the uranium side of the business, and that is going to be a large cash generator for the company in 2026 going forward, as we need additional funds to fund our rare earth business and our heavy mineral sand business. So the uranium business is the real driver for cash flow in the near term, looking forward for the next couple of years.
Yeah, you mentioned 2026. I wanted to ask you, do you have already some uranium production goals for 2026?
We haven't put out our guidance for 2026 yet, and but as I said, we're going to be mining at least 2 million pounds of uranium or thereabouts is what we're kind of targeting, moving towards that 2 million pounds of mining, and then it really depends on when and how much we process. So there can be a little bit of a lead lag between the time when we mine the uranium and the time that we process it. But really, the processing is at our election. So once that ore is mined, once it's at the mill, it's a matter of when we run it through the mill. to meet our current contracts or any spot sales we might have.
Oh,
So we are well moving towards the 2 million pounds per year. I've been saying that for a couple of years now. Um, and I believe that will be the largest production in the U.S. for the foreseeable future.
okay, returning to Pinyon Plain, you have reported impressive grades in Q2, averaging like 3.5 U308. That's more like an Athabasca grades than the typical US deposits. This results continue in Q3?
Um, Look at the high grade is it's very high grade mine. The grades fluctuate as we mine, but no, nothing's changed other than the grades continue. It fluctuates from week to week or month to month, but no, we're experiencing very high grades, and as you mentioned, it is really Athabasca grades um, at the Pinyon Plain mine. So no, we're very excited about that, and those higher grades drive lower costs. And we've said that the cost for Pinyon Plain would be between $23 and $30 a pound, and that's for refined saleable U3O8.
Yeah. Mark, if the uranium price were set to let's say they rise above $100 per pound, how much annual production could Energy Fuels achieve, and within what time frame? I mean the ramp up.
Yeah. Um, well, as I said, we're targeting the 2 million pounds. If those prices stay at that kind of levels, we'll be permitting, and we're already permitting additional projects. We can get up to about 5 million pounds per year of uranium production, looking out, 4 or 5 years. But we can kind of ramp up between that 2 million pounds and somewhere in between, quicker than that. So, um, when you look at it, the largest producer of uranium over the last 20 years has been Cameco in Wyoming and Nebraska. They're not producing currently. And we will, as I said earlier, will be the largest producer. So right now, let's just plan on and focus on getting to the two, and we will go from there.
Okay, you mentioned additional projects. Actually, which projects would you prioritize for development aside
Yeah,
from Pinyon Plain?
it is Nichols Ranch, the ISR project in Wyoming. It is the Energy Queen, which is in Utah. It is the Whirlwind Mine in Colorado, are the first cabs off the rank to continue to increase production from those. But we're also advancing permits on what we call the EZs, which is in northern Arizona. There's two breccia pipes there. We're advancing the permit on the large Roca Honda project in New Mexico, and that is on the Fast 41 with the Trump administration for permitting. And then lastly, we have a project called Bullfrog that we're also starting to advance permitting on. So multiple projects, multiple timelines in terms of which and when some of these can come online. But we can get to the 2 million pounds, potentially up to 2.5 million pounds without any real new projects at this point in time. But targeting the two, making the next step to higher production levels after that.
Sure. Does the company plan on making any new discoveries to expand uranium reserves? I mean, what is the actually your exploration plan going forward, if you have any, of course?
Yeah, we're currently doing drilling at Nichols Ranch in Wyoming, and we're also looking at drilling on some of our other exploration properties as well too. That's really with one rig. We just have one rig out exploring. It's kind of nice to replace some of the pounds that you mine over time.
Okay. Uh, I forgot to ask you at the beginning of the interview. I wanted to ask you about the utilities, about the term contracting. What are you hearing and seeing? What are the utilities doing at the moment?
Um, we find that there is a market for the utilities to continue to ramp up their term contracting. We currently have 4 contracts that we signed a while back, but we are having active discussions with utilities looking to the future. I do find that a number of the utilities are finding that some of the contracts that they've done with some of the newer producers or upstart producers are potentially struggling with some of those producers. And I think that that bodes well for a company like Energy Fuels that is able to ramp up reliably and deliver into their long-term contracts.
Yes, let's talk a bit about rare earth part. When do you expect your rare earth operations to generate positive cash flow?
The rare earth side of the business, we really have to get the scales up, and it depends on how much feed we have. But you could generate positive cash flow on the rare earths in say 27 onwards or 27, 28. The uranium business right now, I mean, everything we have in the uranium business is permitted, and we have the mines, we have the feed, we have the miners, and that's a now revenue stream. So, but yeah, the rare earths, our main limitation is one, the feed. We don't have enough feed to run at economic scale. We do get material from Chemours, and we still get material from Chemours. The next large block of feed that we would expect would likely be out of the Donald project if we go into construction there, and that would be in 27.
Okay. What's your take actually on the rare earths, especially the shortage if China stops the export? How do you see the market evolving?
Well, I think what we see is people are starting to recognize they're going to have to pay more for rare earths that are ex-China, that are produced and processed outside of China. So you're seeing some premiums emerging, particularly with the heavies, with the DY and the TB. A little bit with the lights, which is the NdPr, but not as significant as what you're seeing with the heavies. The heavies, in some cases, the premium for non-China product can be between 2.5 to 3 times the China prices. So there's some real material deltas emerging for those that want products that are ex-China.
Yeah, you have operations in Madagascar, and there was recently a military coup. Do you anticipate any impact on your future rare earth production? And are you in contact with the new regime? Can you give me an update?
Yeah, look, we have a deposit in Madagascar. We don't have any, physical operations per se in terms of mining. Yeah, there was a change of government, and it's early. It's only been a week or two or three, but it's too early to have direct contact with them. But we're still very encouraged with the importance of the Toliara project on and for the government of Madagascar, and we think that it's probably one of their best opportunities for economic development in the country when things settle down. With regard to the impact to the project, I can't say at this time what that impact is. It could help us, it could hurt us, but right now we're encouraged with the appointments that are being made in the Madagascar government, and we really got to get some more appointments done and have further discussion on that front.
Understood. Mark, can you give me an update on your other projects, the one we didn't mention over here, the non-core projects? What's the plan for this year and 2026?
Well, we've got a lot of different assets, and I think I mentioned the mines that we have that will be under production, the Pinyon Plain mine, Pandora, LaSalle, looking at opening up, the Energy Queen, Whirlwind, potentially Nichols Ranch, permitting all these other uranium projects we have, uh, Roca Honda, um, uh, the Bullfrog project, and perhaps restarting production at Nichols Ranch that has all its permits. So on the uranium front, we've got the current producing assets. We're looking at increasing those. The spot price uranium is starting to go back up again. I saw that closed market today, it was 81.50 with one group and 81. So it's starting to go back up a bit. So, we're going to ramp up uranium production based on what makes sense. And these other assets we have in Brazil, in Australia, in Madagascar, in a relationship with Comores, we're going to continue to ramp those up too, with larger quantities, as I said, probably about 2027, and continue to ramp it up to approximately Linus scale in due course.
Sure. M&A strategy. How is your M&A strategy looking when it comes to your dual commodity approach? Are you more focused on M&A in uranium space or on the rare earth side?
Um, I think that our focus has mainly been in the rare earth front, but we're not opposed to looking at M&A in the uranium sector either, if it makes sense. So when we make a decision on M&A, it's really going to be focused on what makes the most sense for the company as a whole. And if an opportunity arises, we'll look at it based on its merits, on what makes sense for the company. If it's rare earths or it's uranium, it will go either direction. But right now, I think the focus on world scalable, world significant, low cost rare earths, where we can be a world player in the rare earth business, is currently making more sense than trying to become a world player on the uranium front. So the uranium front, we will always be U.S. significant. We'll always be, I believe, if not the largest producer, second largest producer in the United States. But when it comes to rare earths, we're planning to be world significant, like, top 2 or 3 in the world outside of China.
Sure, Mark. Final question, news flow. What can investors expect going forward in the terms of news flow?
I think it's going to be the ramp up of our uranium production, the ramp up of our revenue, the further disclosure on our cost structures, which we're very excited about because we believe they're going down when most people's are going up. I think there will be other news flow on the rare earth front when it comes to the feasibility studies that are being complete or will be completed on the Toliara project uh, this year, the phase 2, which is the expansion of the mill to the scale of Linus, also this year, and also on the Donald project in Australia, also feasibility study results as well, full compliance. So you're going to see a lot of news flow on the assets we have and the most recent studies we have when it comes to capital operating costs and also timelines, and a lot of news flow on uranium production in the United States.
Excellent. That was Mark Chalmers, CEO of Energy Fuels. Mark, thank you very much for joining me today. It was a great chat.
All right. Well, good talking to you again.